You and I both knew this day was coming, the day we would have to say goodbye to the last sports car that contains a naturally aspirated V12. Now, yes, it's always difficult to say goodbye to something that is so pure, especially when we do so at the behest of governments around the world. But let's not let this milestone pass us by and spend some time with the last Aventador. So what makes this final iteration of the Aventador, otherwise known as the Aventador Ultimae LP780-4, so special? Well, it is the last vehicle that Lamborghini will make with a naturally aspirated V12. In this version, it's the same engine we've seen before. It's a 6.5-liter, 60-degree V12 that here puts out 769 horsepower and 531 pound-feet of torque. It does so through all four wheels, and yes, it does have a dry sump lubrication system. Now, why are they doing this? Well, it's at the behest of Brussels and Washington, and yeah, they've said we're moving to electrification, but that's what, 10, 12, 13 years in the future. But before that, they said you need to bring your corporate average fuel economy requirements up. And here, it's not really known for fuel economy, 9, 16, 11 combined. However, what this engine is known for, performance figures. 2.7 seconds to 60, and the VMAX, 221 miles an hour. Thankfully, it's not another crossover or an EV, which means it may be lightweight. 3,417 pounds, or depending on express your weights and measures, 1,550 kilograms. Now, those figures a bit of a misnomer because Lamborghini only provides them in dry weight, which doesn't get us the car on this road. So my best guesstimate, somewhere between 3,700 and 3,800 pounds with that. Oh God, oh my God, oh God, this, I can't get the words out. Every man, car guy, car gal, they must own a naturally aspirated 12-cylinder engine at one point in their life. God, Santa Maria, Madre de Dios, that is unbelievably good. What is not great is the transmission. It is a single clutch 7-speed. Let's go into regular mode, and I'm just gonna drive, and let's accelerate and watch it shift gears. You see how it moves my head there? That's why you want a dual clutch, and that's why everyone has gone to a dual clutch. Okay, so let's you and I put aside the theatrics of driving an NA 12-cylinder and discuss why is an NA 12-cylinder important to you and I. And it's really the way it delivers power. I would argue it's the torque more than anything else. And in this case, it comes in somewhere around 3,000 RPM, but where it differs from modern engines, it doesn't rev very high. Even like newer twin-turbo V8s, those rev higher than they did back in the day. It's about 6,000 RPM, which is why it delivers power differently and why it sounds different doing it. Now let's you and I focus on the other half of this equation, and that would be what's underneath the vehicle. Actually, I'd go so far as to saying the construction of the vehicle. So right now we're sitting in a carbon fiber tub. That is the structure of the vehicle, and then all of the subframes are built off of that carbon fiber tub. Then there's double wishbones in the front and the rear, and that works in conjunction with the Lamborghini setup that we've seen in both the Aventador S as well as the Aventador SVJ. Now, something huge to point out here. This does not have the same active aero that the SVJ had. That's got the ALA or whatever Brian told you in his episode when I was in the hospital. That has active aero in the front, that has that huge wing in the back. This only has an oh God, that sounds good. This only has the adjustable wing in the back, so it sits flush with the body. So it does provide some active aero, but it's not doing the same trick that the SVJ does, literally pushing the nose of the car to the road as the car accelerates. This instead is using a lot of the bits of the way the car is designed to channel air around the car. Then that works in conjunction with different spring rates and different damper rates. Now when I say different, softer. Then there's the second piece of nostalgia with this vehicle. It's not just that it's the last NA 12 cylinder for Lamborghini. It is a throwback. It still has hydraulic steering. Can I say grazie mille, because it really does make a difference. The only other car you and I have driven recently that has hydraulic steering is also something like this, the McLaren 765 LT Spider. And there's a reason why we've done it for so many years. It's more natural in the way it delivers feedback from the road. The weight's about perfect. And then there's the feel. That's really what it's all about. I enjoy driving this not just because of that engine, it's because of the steering as well. Then there are the brakes, which are sizable. Up front, 400 mils, which is just under 16 inches, 15.75 to be pedantic. And in the back, 380 mils, which is just under 15 inches, 14.96. So here's the script with the brakes. They do not behave like those of a modern car, which is the overall theme of this vehicle. We'll cover more on that later. Let's say for the sake of discussion, you wanted to loan this car to a friend of yours. I don't know why you would. You'd have to explain to them the concept of carbon ceramic rotors and how they behave differently than those of metallic rotors. You notice the difference more driving it around town. Up here, that's where it really comes into play that they are carbon ceramic rotors. Work incredibly well, the right tool for the job. I would argue this is more of a track tool in the brake department. Like the transmission, it is another aspect of the vehicle that shows the Aventador's age. Yes, it is indeed that time again to play your favorite game, Mind the Options game, with today's contestant, sadly the end of an era. The Lamborghini Aventador Ultimae LP 780-4. Which comes to us with a base price of $498,260. Who said final editions come cheaply? Then we press on to the color. This is Grigio Acceso, which is a matte gray, $17,500. Now, just as an aside, there are 18 different colors on offer for this final edition. Then there's a two-tone on this one, the black. That's an additional $9,100. Then the interior color, $2,800, and that is suede, not leather. Then to have the trim in rosso, otherwise known as red, $1,100. Then to have red stitching on the inside, $1,000. I'd say money very well spent. Then the telemetry system. This is one of those apps that we see in other cars where you go on a track and it gets all of the data from the vehicle. You can upload to a system, then it analyzes it. That's $2,100. Then the upgraded stereo in a Lamborghini, they call it Sensonum, something like that. It's not great, and it's certainly not worth $4,200. I do believe that comes with Apple CarPlay, only with that system. And then we press on to the wheels. Now here, there are many different wheel choices on offer. They're all staggered 20 and 21s. However, there are 13 different options on offer that range from $1,800 all the way up to $7,000. This is $5,200. Then one can dress up the engine compartment, and here it's all carbon fiber. It does look lovely. I'd say it's worth the $5,600. Then we press on to something that I am shocked is optional, a garage door opener, $700. Then if one wants the brake calipers finished in red, which are monoblocks, $1,400. Then, of course, if you're buying something that's a 12-cylinder without a turbocharger or electrification and gets horrific fuel economy, you must be punished to the tune of $5,400 in gas tax. Then the only other thing we add is the destination and handling from Sant'Agata Bolognese for $5,695, which brings us to a total retail price of $558,853. So a couple of notes before you and I say farewell to this final edition. First would be the size of the vehicle. When one sees these things on video or in pictures, it's kind of a misnomer on the size of the vehicle. It's quite a bit larger than an Huracan or cars that size. Like, for example, the wheelbase is 3 inches longer and the length is 10 inches longer. You know what? Let's put that aside and express this in different terms. I feel much more distance between my seating position and the base of that windscreen, which translates to the feel of a bigger car. Then combine that with the way that NA V12 delivers power, and then the steering, the hydraulic steering at that, and there's just an old world charm to the way this thing drives. It's a funny thing, when this car first came out and I got behind the wheel, I'm like, wow, it's a more docile Lamborghini. It's almost usable around town. But now looking back at it, after spending time in Huracans and other supercars, it's amazing how old world this feels. It's amazing how it transforms me back to the day of driving the final edition of like the past 2 Lamborghinis and how old they felt at the time. Okay, so what have we learned today? Well, A, this a magnificent driving experience, B, not exactly my cup of tea, and C, it ain't perfect. However, that is one of its charms, which brings us back to reality, and the reality of this going to be incredibly rare, more rare than a standard Aventador. They're only going to make 350 of the coupes. This is number 1 of 350, and they're going to make 250 of the roadsters, and by the time you see this, they're all sold. Which brings us to the wish list. And there I have nothing for this vehicle. It's really for the future of Lamborghini. Now, they made this decision because of input from Brussels and Washington. However, since this vehicle came out, Germany, they have backed off that mandate. Originally, it was going to be all EV by 2035, but they're like, I don't think we can meet that. And if I were a betting man, I see other European states following suit, which means Washington may follow suit, which for the future of Lamborghini, perhaps there's an opportunity for a very limited production run of vehicles like this. No electrification, no turbochargers, for folks that want something very custom. Perhaps something to consider for the future. But I am just one man, and this is the point of the episode where I turn this around to you guys to opine in the comments below or via our social media, MotoMan TV, all one word, MotoMan TV, all one word, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And with that, a little bit behind the scenes on this episode, we have to take the car from the hangar up to the shoot road, which is about 50 miles, and then drive it like you saw we did today. In just doing that, I completely drained the tank. Until I see you in the next episode, bish, baby.